Jake Morrison floated in the captain's chair of the exploration ship Constellation, watching the stars through the main screen. The ship moved slowly through space near the Kepler 442 system. Jake had been leading this mission for 3 months, now searching for new planets that humans could live on. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange on the long-range sensors," said Lisa Campbell from her station. She was the ship's tactical officer, a smart woman with short brown hair and quick eyes. "It's big, really big." Jake pushed himself over to Lisa's station. In the low gravity of the ship, moving around was easy. "Show me what you've got." Lisa's fingers danced across her control panel. The main screen changed to show a massive dark shape against the stars. The thing was huge, at least 10 times bigger than their ship. It had a strange design with curves and spikes that looked almost alive. "That's not human," said Ryan Brooks from the engineering station. He was a tall man with red hair who knew everything about how their ship worked. "The design is completely different from anything we've built?" Katie Walsh looked up from her communications desk. She was young, maybe 25, with blonde hair tied back in a ponytail. "I'm not getting any signals from it. No radio, no laser communications, nothing." Jake studied the alien ship on the screen. It was beautiful in a scary way, like a piece of art made by someone who had never seen human art before. The surface seemed to shift colors as they watched, going from deep blue to purple to black. "How far away is it?" Jake asked. "About 2 million kilometers," Lisa replied. "But Commander, there's something else. It's not moving, but I'm reading massive energy signatures from inside it. Whatever powers that thing, it's way beyond our technology." Jake made a decision. Change course. "Take us away from that thing." Nice and slow, no sudden moves. Ryan's hands moved over his controls. Engines responding. We're backing away at quarter speed. For a moment, Jake thought they might escape without being noticed. The alien ship just sat there in space, dark and silent. Then everything changed. The alien ship suddenly lit up with bright lights. Beams of energy reached out from it, moving faster than anything Jake had ever seen. The beams wrapped around the constellation like invisible ropes. "We're caught in some kind of tractor beam," Ryan shouted. "I can't break free." "The engines are at full power, but we're not moving." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Katie, send a message to Earth. Tell them what we found and what's happening to us." Katie's fingers flew over her keyboard. "I'm trying. But something is blocking all our communications. We can't send anything out." The alien ship began pulling them closer. Jake could see more details now. The hull was covered in patterns that looked like writing, but not any kind of writing humans had ever seen. There were openings in the ship that looked like mouths and smaller ships moving in and out of them. "Commander, I'm reading at least 50 smaller ships inside that thing," Lisa said. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the fear underneath. "And life signs, lots of them. What kind of life signs?" Jake asked. "Unknown. The computer can't match them to anything in our database." The constellation shook as the tractor beam pulled them into one of the large openings on the alien ship. Jake watched the stars disappear as they entered a huge bay filled with strange aircraft. The walls glowed with soft light, and you could see figures moving around on walkways. "Artificial gravity is kicking in," Ryan reported. "Whatever these aliens use, it's stronger than our gravity generators." Jake felt his feet settle onto the floor as the ship's artificial gravity was overpowered by the alien system. Through the main screen, he could see alien beings approaching their ship. They were tall, maybe 7 feet high, with skin that looked like crystal. Their bodies were shaped like humans, but more elegant, with longer arms and legs. "They're beautiful," Katie whispered. Jake had to agree. The aliens moved with grace, their crystal skin catching the light and throwing rainbow patterns on the walls. But beauty didn't make them safe. "All right, people," Jake said. "We don't know what these aliens want, but we're going to find out. Stay calm, stay together, and let me do the talking." A loud sound filled the ship. Not exactly a voice, but something that their computers somehow turned into words they could understand. "Humans of the vessel Constellation, you will exit your ship and come with us. You will not be harmed if you comply. Jake looked at his crew. Lisa had her hand on her weapon, but Jake shook his head. Fighting would be useless against this many aliens with technology far beyond their own. We're going out there, he said. Remember, we're explorers, not soldiers. We came here in peace. The airlock opened, and Jake led his crew out into the alien ship. The air smelled strange, like flowers and metal mixed together. The aliens waited for them, their crystal skin shifting colors from blue to green to purple. One of the aliens stepped forward. This one was different from the others. Taller, with skin that sparkled like diamonds, and eyes that seemed to look right through Jake. The alien wore what looked like a crown, made of the same crystal material as its skin. I am Captain Zektar, the alien said. The voice was clearly female, though different from any human voice Jake had ever heard. You are now prisoners of the Zephyrian Empire. You will come with us to see our queen. Jake stepped forward, trying to look confident even though his heart was beating fast. I'm Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth exploration vessel Constellation. We're on a peaceful mission. We didn't mean to enter your space. Zektar's eyes never left Jake's face. The Queen will decide what to do with you. She is very interested in your species. Our species? Lisa asked. How do you know about humans? The Zephyrian Empire knows about many species, Zektar replied. We have been watching your people for some time. The Queen finds you unusual. They were led through corridors that seemed to be carved from crystal. The walls glowed with soft light, and Jake could see other aliens working at stations along the way. All of them stopped what they were doing to stare at the humans. Commander, Katie whispered, I'm counting at least 1,000 aliens on this ship, maybe more. Jake nodded. They were completely outnumbered, but he wasn't ready to give up. Humans had survived worse odds before, though he couldn't think of when. The corridors led to a massive hall with a ceiling so high Jake couldn't see the top. At the far end, on a throne made of what looked like living crystal, sat the most beautiful and terrifying being Jake had ever seen. The Queen of the Zephyrians was tall, maybe 8 feet, with skin that shifted through every color Jake could imagine. Her hair looked like spun silver, and her eyes were deep purple, like looking into space itself. She wore robes that seemed to be made of starlight, and a crown that floated above her head without touching it, but it was her presence that hit Jake the hardest. She radiated power like heat from a fire. Every alien in the room was focused on her, waiting for her to speak. Queen Vexaria looked down at the 4 humans standing before her throne. Her gaze moved over Lisa, Ryan, and Katie, but stopped on Jake. She studied him for a long moment, and Jake felt like she was reading his thoughts. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was like music, but dangerous music, like a song that might hypnotize you and lead you off a cliff. So, she said, these are the humans I have heard about. The species that refuses to surrender, even when defeat is certain. She stood up from her throne and walked down the steps toward them. Every step she took made Jake's heart beat faster. She stopped just a few feet away from him, close enough that he could smell her strange, sweet scent. You are their leader, she said. To Jake, it wasn't a question. I am, Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady. The Queen smiled, and Jake saw that her teeth were like small crystals. Good, I have plans for you, human. She reached out with one long finger and touched Jake's face. Her skin was warm, which surprised him. He had expected it to be cold like real crystal. You're mine now, human, she said, her purple eyes never leaving his. You have no say in the matter. Jake looked into those alien eyes and felt something he had never felt before. Not just fear, but something else. Challenge. This alien queen thought she owned him, but she was about to learn something about humans that no alien had ever learned before. We'll see about that, he said quietly. The Queen's smile grew wider. Jake woke up on a hard bed in a small room. The walls were the same crystal material as the rest of the ship, glowing softly with blue light. He sat up and looked around. The room was simple but clean, with a bed, a small table, and what looked Like a bathroom area behind a crystal wall, he tried the door, but it wouldn't open. No surprise there. He was a prisoner on an alien ship, millions of miles from Earth, but Jake had been in tough spots before, and he always found a way out. The door suddenly opened with a soft sound. Captain Zektar stepped into the room, followed by two other Zephyrian guards. Their crystal skin was dark red this time, which Jake guessed meant they were angry or ready for trouble. "The Queen wants to see you," Zektar said. "You will come with us now." Jake stood up slowly. "What about my crew? Are they okay? Your crew is safe. The Queen has use for them later. Right now, she wants to test you." "Test me how?" Zektar's crystal skin shifted to a darker red. "You will see." They walked through more crystal corridors, past aliens who stopped. Their work to stare at Jake. Some of them looked curious, others seemed afraid. Jake wondered how many other species the Zephyrians had captured over the years. The corridors led to a massive round room with high walls. The floor was covered in sand, and there were seats rising up all around it like a stadium. Jake realized he was looking at an arena, like the ones ancient Romans used for gladiator fights. Queen Vexaria sat on a throne high above the arena floor. Her skin was bright gold today, and her silver hair moved even though there was no wind. She looked down at Jake with those purple eyes, and he felt that same strange feeling he had felt before. "Welcome to the testing ground, human." Her voice echoed through the arena. "Here, I learn what different species are truly capable of." Jake looked around the arena. There were other beings in cages around the edges, all different species. Some looked like giant lizards, others like walking trees, and still more like nothing Jake had ever imagined. All of them looked scared. "I'm not going to fight for your entertainment," Jake said loudly, so the Queen could hear him. The Queen laughed, a sound like silver bells. "You misunderstand. This is not entertainment. This is science. I need to know what humans can do when they have no choice but to fight." A gate opened on the other side of the arena. Something huge walked out, and Jake's heart sank. The creature was at least 9 feet tall, with thick gray skin that looked like armor. It had 4 arms, each one ending in claws that looked like they could cut through steel. Its head was shaped like a crocodile's, but bigger, with teeth like daggers. "This is a Kroger warrior," the Queen announced. "They are known throughout the galaxy for their strength and fighting ability. This one has defeated 12 other species in combat." The Kroger looked at Jake and let out a roar that shook the arena. It started walking toward him, its 4 arms spread wide. Jake looked around quickly. There were no weapons on the arena floor, just sand and a few rocks. The walls were too high to climb, and the Queen's guards were watching from above. He was trapped, but Jake had learned something important during his years as a soldier and explorer. When you can't win by being stronger, you win by being smarter. The Kroger charged at him, moving faster than something that big should be able to move. Jake rolled to the side, barely avoiding the creature's claws. He grabbed a handful of sand and threw it at the Kroger's eyes. The creature roared and shook its head, trying to clear its vision. Jake ran to the other side of the arena, his mind working fast. The Kroger was strong and fast, but it was also angry. Angry fighters made mistakes. Jake picked up a rock and threw it at the creature's head. The rock bounced off harmlessly, but it made the Kroger even angrier. It charged again, and this time Jake was ready. He waited until the last second, then dropped flat on the ground. The Kroger couldn't stop in time and ran straight into the arena wall. The impact shook the whole room, and cracks appeared in the crystal. Jake jumped up and ran to where the Kroger had hit the wall. There were sharp pieces of crystal on the ground now, some of them as long as his arm. He grabbed the biggest piece, holding it like a spear. The Kroger turned around, blood running from a cut on its forehead. It was hurt, but still very dangerous. It came at Jake again, but slower this time, more careful. Jake held the crystal spear in front of him, waiting. The Kroger reached out with its 4 arms, trying to grab him. Jake thrust the spear forward, aiming for a spot where the creature's armor looked thinner. The crystal point went deep into the Kroger's chest. The creature let out a scream and fell backward, green blood pouring from the wound. It tried to get up, but couldn't. After a few seconds, it stopped moving. Jake stood over the dead Kroger, breathing hard. The arena was completely silent. He looked up at Queen Vexaria, who was staring at him with wide purple eyes. "Interesting," she said finally. "Very interesting." Guards came down to take Jake back to his room. As they walked through the corridors, Jake noticed that the other aliens looked at him differently now. Some seemed afraid, others looked impressed. Word was spreading that the human had killed a Kroger warrior. Back in his room, Jake found that food had been left for him. It looked strange but smelled good. He ate it carefully, trying not to think about what it might be. A few hours later, the door opened again. This time it was just Captain Zektar without any guards. "The Queen wants to know how you defeated the Kroger," she said. Jake looked at her carefully. "Why do you want to know?" "Because in 300 years, no one has ever killed a Kroger with just a piece of crystal. The Queen thinks there is something special about humans." "Maybe there is," Jake said. "Or maybe your Queen just never fought anyone who refused to give up." Zektar's skin shifted to a lighter color. "The Queen is curious about your species. She has conquered many worlds, but she has never encountered a people like humans." "What do you mean?" "Most species surrender when they see our power. They join the Empire willingly, or they are destroyed. But the reports about humans say you fight even when you cannot win." Jake thought about this. "Where are my crew members?" "I want to see them. They are safe. The Queen has them in comfortable quarters. She wants to study them as well." "Study them how? Not in the arena," Zektar said quickly. "The Queen believes your crew has different skills that might be useful to the Empire." Jake didn't like the sound of that. "What kind of skills?" "Your tactical officer knows about weapons and fighting. Your engineer understands technology. Your communications officer can learn languages quickly. These are all valuable abilities. And what about me?" Zektar's skin shifted to purple, the same color as the Queen's eyes. "The Queen has special plans for you. You will fight again tomorrow against a different opponent. If you survive, you will fight again the next day. The Queen wants to see how long a human can last." After Zektar left, Jake sat on his bed and thought about his situation. He was trapped on an alien ship, forced to fight for the entertainment of a queen who thought she owned him. His crew was being held prisoner, and there was no way to contact Earth, but Jake had learned something important today. The Zephyrians respected strength, but they didn't understand human determination. They thought that by making him fight, they were breaking him down. Instead, they were giving him opportunities to learn about their weaknesses. The arena had guards, but not many. The crystal walls could be broken if you hit them hard enough. And most importantly, the other prisoners in the arena might be willing to help if they thought there was a chance of escape. Jake lay down on his bed and closed his eyes. Tomorrow he would fight again, and he would win again. Not because he wanted to entertain the Queen, but because every victory brought him closer to finding a way out of this place. The Queen thought she owned him, but she was about to learn that humans were not pets to be kept in cages. They were something much more dangerous than that. They were survivors. In another part of the ship, Lisa Campbell sat in her own room, working on a small device she had built from pieces of the crystal walls. If she was right, she might be able to send a signal to the other prisoners or even to Ryan and Katie. Ryan Brooks was in his quarters, studying the power systems of the alien ship. He had noticed something interesting about the way the Zephyrians used energy, and he thought he might be able to use it against them. Katie Walsh was learning the Zephyrian language by listening to the guards outside her door. She was already starting to understand some of their words, and she was hearing things that might be useful. The Queen might think she had captured 4 helpless humans, but she was wrong. She had captured 4 members of the most stubborn species in the galaxy, and they were already planning their next move. Jake had fought 3 more times in the arena over the past week. Each time he faced a different alien creature, and each time he found a way to win. The other prisoners began to look at him with something that might have been hope. After his 4th victory, Queen Vexaria did something unexpected. Instead of sending him back to his room, she had him brought to her private chambers. The Queen's rooms were nothing like the rest of the ship. The walls were covered in what looked like living paintings that moved and changed colors. And there were plants that Jake had never seen before, some that glowed with their own light. The air smelled like flowers and rain. Queen Vexaria sat on a chair that seemed to be made of water, though it held her weight perfectly. She had changed her appearance again. Her skin was now a soft silver color, and her hair was shorter, more like a human style. She looked almost normal if you ignored the purple eyes and the fact that she was 8 feet tall. "Sit," she said, pointing to a chair across from her. "We need to talk." Jake sat down carefully. The chair was comfortable, more comfortable than anything he had felt since being captured. "What do you want to talk about?" "I want to understand you," the Queen said. "I have watched you fight 4 times now. You should have died in the first fight, but you didn't. You should have given up by now, but you haven't. Why?" Jake thought about his answer. "Because giving up isn't what humans do. But you know you cannot escape. You know you are alone, far from your home world, with no help coming. Most species would accept their fate by now. Most species aren't human." The Queen leaned forward, her purple eyes studying Jake's face. "Tell me about your species. Tell me about humans." Jake wasn't sure why he started talking, but he did. Maybe it was because he was tired of fighting, or maybe because the Queen seemed genuinely curious. He told her about Earth, about the wars humans had fought, about the way they explored space, even when it was dangerous. "We don't like being told what to do," Jake said. "We especially don't like being owned. But surely you understand that some beings are stronger than others. The strong should rule the weak. This is the natural order. That's not how humans see it. We think everyone should be free to choose their own path." The Queen's skin shifted to a darker color. "Freedom is an illusion. There is only power and the lack of power. I have power, so I rule. You lack power. So you obey? Do you really believe that?" The question seemed to surprise her. "Of course I believe it. It is the truth." Jake looked around the beautiful room. "If that's true, then why do you look sad?" For a moment, the Queen's perfect composure cracked. Her skin flickered between colors, and Jake saw something in her. Purple eyes that he hadn't expected to see. Pain. "I am not sad," she said quickly. "I am the Queen of the Zephyrian Empire. I rule over 1,000 worlds. That doesn't mean you're happy." The Queen stood up and walked to a window that looked out into space. "You know nothing about me, human. I know you spend time talking to a prisoner instead of ruling your empire. I know you fight other people's battles for them instead of fighting your own. And I know you keep changing how you look, like you're not sure who you're supposed to be." The Queen turned around, and Jake saw that her eyes were brighter than before. "You think you understand me? I think you're lonely." The words hung in the air between them. The Queen's skin went through several colors before settling on a deep blue. "Tell me about your empire," Jake said gently. "How did it start?" The Queen was quiet for a long time. Then she began to speak, her voice softer than Jake had ever heard it. "My people came from a world called Zephyr Prime. It was beautiful, but it was dying. The star that warmed our world was getting older, colder. We knew that in a few hundred years our planet would be frozen and lifeless." She sat back down, but this time she looked tired. "My grandmother was queen then. She led our people to the stars, looking for a new home. But everywhere we went, we found other species already living there. We tried to ask for help, tried to find a place where we could live in peace. What happened? We were attacked. Over and over, other species saw us as invaders, as threats. They wouldn't listen to our explanations, they just wanted us gone." Jake began to understand. "So you learned to fight back?" "We learned to strike first. We learned that if we conquered other species before they could attack us, we would be safe. And we were good at it, very good. But you kept conquering even after. You found safe places to live." The Queen's skin shifted to a darker blue. "Yes, it became our way of life. Conquest brought us resources, technology, power. My mother expanded the empire to 50 worlds. I have expanded it to over 1,000. And now? Now I rule an empire that spans half the galaxy. I have more power than any being in known space. I can destroy planets with a word, create new life with a thought, but you're not happy." The queen looked at him with those purple eyes. "No, I am not happy. My people are not happy. We have become something we never meant to be. We have become the monsters that other species fear." Jake leaned forward. "It doesn't have to be that way, doesn't it? I have 1,000 worlds full of conquered species. They obey me because they fear me. If I show weakness, they will rebel. If I show mercy, they will see it as a sign that I'm losing my power. Or maybe they would see it as a sign that you're becoming a better leader." The queen laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "You really don't understand how power works, do you? I understand that real power comes from people wanting to follow you, not from making them afraid of you. And what would you know about leadership?" Jake thought about his crew, about the men and women who had followed him on dangerous missions because they trusted him. "I know that Lisa Campbell would die. For me, not because I order her to, but because she believes in what we're trying to do. I know that Ryan Brooks works 80-hour days not because he's afraid of punishment, but because he wants to help our mission succeed. I know that Katie Walsh learns new languages and studies alien cultures because she wants to help us communicate with other species. And what about you? What do you get from being their leader?" "I get the chance to help them be the best they can be. I get to watch them grow and succeed. I get to be part of something bigger than myself." The queen was quiet for a long time. "On my world, leaders take, they don't give. Maybe that's why your people aren't happy." Over the next few days, Jake found himself brought to the queen's chambers more often. Sometimes they talked about leadership, sometimes about their different worlds. The queen told him about Zephyrian history, about their art and culture and technology. Jake learned that the Zephyrians were not naturally violent. They had been peaceful explorers once, much like humans. It was fear that had turned them into conquerors, fear that had trapped them in a cycle of violence. "I sometimes wonder what would have happened if we had met a species like yours first," the queen said one evening. "A species that might have helped us instead of attacking us." "It's not too late," Jake said. "You could change things now." "Could I? I have generals who think I'm already too soft. I have nobles who want me to conquer more worlds, not fewer. I have subjects who expect me to be strong and ruthless. You also have subjects who might be tired of living in fear." The queen's skin shifted to a color Jake had never seen before, a soft green that reminded him of spring grass. "How would you change things if you were me?" Jake thought carefully. "I would start by giving people choices. Small ones at first. Let them decide things for themselves. Show them that you trust them to make good decisions. And if they make bad decisions, then you help them learn from their mistakes. You don't punish them for trying." The queen stood up and walked to her window again. "You make it sound so simple. It's not simple. It's the hardest thing in the world. But it's the only way to build something that lasts." Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Lisa Campbell had made contact with a group of low-ranking Zephyrian guards. She had learned that many of them were unhappy with the way the Empire was run, but they were too afraid to speak up. Ryan Brooks had discovered that the ship's power systems had a weakness that could be exploited. He was working on a way to temporarily disable the ship's weapons, just in case they needed to escape. Katie Walsh had become fluent in the Zephyrian language and was learning about their culture. She had found out that there were other species on the ship who were not prisoners but were not entirely free either. Some of them might be willing to help if they thought there was a chance for change. The queen didn't know it yet, but her conversations with Jake were being heard by others. Word was spreading through the ship that the human leader was changing the way their queen thought about ruling. Some of the Zephyrians were scared by this change. They liked the old ways, the ways that had made them powerful. But others were hopeful. They remembered stories their grandparents told about the old days, when Zephyrians had been explorers and peacekeepers instead of conquerors. Change was coming to the Zephyrian Empire, whether the queen was ready for it or not. And it was all because one human had refused to give up, even when he was alone and far from home. Jake didn't know it yet, but he was about to face his greatest challenge. Not in the arena, but in the heart of a queen who was beginning to remember what it meant to hope. Jake was having breakfast in the queen's chambers when Captain Zektar rushed in. Her crystal skin was flashing red and orange, colors Jake had learned meant urgent danger. "My queen," Zektar said, breathing hard. "We have received word from the Fifth Fleet. They have found the human home system." Jake's spoon clattered to the floor. He stood up so fast his chair fell over. "What?" Queen Vexaria's skin went completely white. "I gave no orders to attack human space. General Karthik claims he has authority from the War Council. He says the humans are a threat that must be eliminated before they become stronger." Jake felt ice in his veins. "How many ships?" 200 warships, my queen. They are moving toward the human colonies now." Jake looked at Queen Vexaria, and for the first time since he had met her, he saw real fear in her purple eyes. But his fear was turning into something else. Something much more dangerous. "Call them back," Jake said, his voice low and deadly quiet. "I cannot," the queen said. "General Karthak has been planning this for months. He has convinced the War Council that I have become weak, that my friendship with you has clouded my judgment." Jake stepped toward her, and even though she was 8 feet tall and had the power to destroy planets, she took a step back. "Then you're going to help me stop them?" "Jake, you don't understand. The War Council controls half the fleet. If I move against them, it will mean civil war. Then we'll have a civil war." Jake's voice was getting louder. "Because I'm not going to let your people murder mine while I sit here talking about philosophy." Queen Vexaria had never seen Jake truly angry before. In the arena, he had been calm and calculating. In their conversations, he had been patient and thoughtful. But now she was seeing what human rage looked like when someone threatened their family. "Jake, please think about this. Even if we could stop Karthak, it would tear the Empire apart. Millions would die. Millions of my people are going to die if we don't try." Jake turned to Captain Zektar. "How long before the fleet reaches human space? 3 days, maybe 4. Jake nodded. "Then we have 3 days to stop them." "Where are my crew?" "Jake, what are you planning?" the queen asked. "I'm planning to save my people." "Are you going to help me, or do I have to do it alone?" The queen looked at him for a long moment. Her skin shifted through several colors before settling on a deep blue. "If we do this, there will be no going back. The Empire will never be the same." "Good, maybe it's time for a change." 2 hours later, Jake was reunited with his crew in a secure meeting room. Lisa Campbell looked tired but alert. Ryan Brooks had dark circles under his eyes from working on ship systems. Katie Walsh was pale, but determined. "Commander," Lisa said, "we heard about the attack on Earth. What's the plan?" "We're going to stop it," Jake said simply. "And we're not going alone." Queen Vexaria entered the room, followed by Captain Zektar and 3 other Zephyrian officers Jake didn't recognize. "These are officers who remain loyal to me," the Queen explained. "But they are not enough to stop Karthak's fleet." One of the officers, a tall Zephyrian with dark blue skin, stepped forward. "My queen, we have been in contact with ship commanders throughout the fleet. Many are uncomfortable with Karthak's actions, but they are afraid to speak against the War Council." "How many ships can we count on?" Jake asked. "Perhaps 50, maybe 60 if we're lucky. Not enough to defeat Karthak in open battle." "Ryan." Brooks looked up from a tablet he had been studying. "Commander, I've been analyzing their ship designs. If we can get close enough to their flagship, I think I can disable their communications array. Without communications, their fleet will." He scattered and confused. "How close is close enough?" Lisa asked. "Very close. We'd have to be practically touching their hull." Katie Walsh had been quiet, but now she spoke up. "I've been learning about Zephyrian military protocols. If we can prove that Karthak is acting without proper authority, some of his ships might switch sides." Queen Vexaria shook her head. "Karthak has convinced them that he is protecting the Empire from a human threat. they believe they are following legal orders. Then we need to show them the truth, Jake said. We need to show them that humans aren't the threat. Karthik is. The plan they came up with was dangerous and probably impossible, but it was their only chance. They would take a small group of loyal ships and intercept Karthik's fleet before it reached human space. Queen Vixaria would challenge Karthik's authority publicly in front of the entire fleet. While they were talking, Ryan would sneak aboard the flagship and disable their communications. Lisa would coordinate the loyal ships to be ready for battle if the challenge failed. "And what about me?" Katie asked. "You're going to broadcast everything." "To the entire empire," Jake said. "Every Zephyrian world, every conquered species, everyone needs to see what happens next." They left the next morning in a small fleet of 12 ships. Queen Vexaria's personal vessel led the way, with the captured human ship Constellation following close behind. Jake stood on the bridge of the Queen's ship, watching the stars rush past at impossible speed. "Are you afraid?" the Queen asked. Terrified, Jake admitted. "But that's not going to stop me. Your people are lucky to have you as their champion." "I'm not their champion. I'm just a guy who refuses to quit." They found Karthik's fleet at the edge of human space, 200 massive warships moving in perfect formation toward Earth's colonies. The lead ship was enormous, easily 5 times the size of Queen Vexaria's vessel. "General Karthik!" the Queen's voice boomed across all communication channels. "By my authority as Queen of the Zephyrian Empire, I order you to stand down immediately." The response came quickly. "Queen Vexaria, you have been compromised by alien influence. The War Council has voted to remove you from command. Surrender your ships, and you will be treated with the respect due to a former ruler." "The War Council has no authority to remove me," the Queen replied. "I am Queen by birthright and by law." "You are Queen by strength," Karthik's voice crackled back. "And you have shown weakness. You have been seduced by human lies and human weakness." Jake stepped forward to the communication console. "General Karthik, this is Commander Jake Morrison of the human exploration vessel Constellation. I'm the one you're so afraid of." There was silence for a moment, then Karthik laughed. "A human, I should have known. You will die with your queen." "Alien, maybe," Jake said, "but not today." That was the signal. Ryan Brooks, who had been hidden in a maintenance shuttle, launched himself toward Karthik's flagship. Lisa Campbell began coordinating with the loyal Zephyrian ships that had been hiding in the asteroid field nearby. Katie Walsh started broadcasting everything to the entire Zephyrian Empire. The battle began with a flash of energy weapons lighting up space. Karthik's ships were larger and more powerful, but Queen Vexaria's forces were faster and more determined. Jake watched from the bridge as the two fleets clashed in a deadly dance among the stars. "Ryan's aboard the flagship," Lisa reported over the communication system. "He's heading for the communication array now." "Ships are switching sides," Katie added from her station. "Some of Karthik's commanders are refusing to fire on the Queen, but not enough. Even with the defections, they were still badly outnumbered." Karthik's flagship was moving toward the Queen's ship, its massive weapons charging for a killing blow. "My queen," Captain Zektar called out. "His main cannon is targeting us." "We have maybe 30 seconds. Queen Vexaria looked at Jake. "I'm sorry. I tried to change things, but I was too late." Jake smiled at her, and she was surprised to see that he didn't look afraid anymore. "Don't apologize yet. Ryan's the best engineer in the human fleet. If anyone can pull off a miracle, it's him." 20 seconds. 15. 10. Suddenly, Karthik's flagship went dark. Every light on the massive ship went out, and it began drifting helplessly through space. "Got it." Ryan's voice came over the communication system. "I didn't just disable their communications, I shut down their entire power grid." "They're dead?" In space, the effect on the rest of Karthik's fleet was immediate. Without orders from their flagship, and seeing their mighty general helpless, ship after ship began switching sides. Within an hour, the entire fleet had surrendered, but the real victory came from Katie's broadcast. Across the empire, on 1,000 conquered worlds, people watched as their queen stood up to her own generals to protect an alien species. They saw a human risk everything to save his people, and they saw that change was possible. "It's working," Katie reported, tears in her eyes. "We're getting messages from all over the empire. People are rising up, demanding change. The old system is falling apart." Jake looked at Queen Vexaria, who was staring at the reports coming in from across her empire. Her skin was cycling through colors so fast it looked like a rainbow. "What have we done?" she whispered. "We've started something new," Jake said. "Something better." The queen nodded slowly. "Yes, I think we have." But even as they celebrated their victory, Jake knew this was just the beginning. Stopping one fleet was easy compared to rebuilding an entire empire. The real work was just starting. 6 months after the battle that stopped the attack on human space, Jake stood in what used to be the Zephyrian throne room. The massive crystal throne was gone, replaced by a simple round table where representatives from dozens of species could sit as equals. Queen Vexaria no longer wore her floating crown or robes of starlight. Instead, she dressed in simple clothes that let her move freely among her people. She had kept the title of queen, but now it meant something very different. "The Rigel system wants to join the new federation," she reported to the council. "That makes 43 systems that have voted to replace the old empire structure." Jake nodded from his seat at the table. He wore the uniform of an Earth Federation ambassador now, but he still felt more comfortable in his old explorer clothes. "What about the holdout systems?" 12 systems are still under control of the old warlords," replied Captain Zektar, who now served as the Federation's military coordinator. "They refuse to give up their conquered territories." "We knew this wouldn't be easy," said Dr. Chunwei, the Earth Federation's lead negotiator. She had arrived 3 months ago with a full diplomatic team to help establish formal relations between humans and the new Zephyrian Federation. Lisa Campbell, now captain of her own ship, looked up from her datapad. "The good news is that none of the holdout systems have enough ships to threaten anyone. They're more worried about defending themselves than attacking others." "What about the Kroger homeworld?" Jake asked. "Any word from them?" Ryan Brooks, who had become the Federation's chief technology officer, smiled. "Actually, yes. They want to send a delegation to meet with us. Apparently, they're very interested in the idea of a government that doesn't rule through fear." Katie Walsh, now head of interspecies communications, laughed. "I never thought I'd see the day when the Kroger wanted to talk instead of fight." Jake remembered his first opponent in the arena, the massive Kroger warrior he had been forced to kill. It seemed like a lifetime ago. Now, representatives from the Kroger worlds were coming to discuss peaceful cooperation. "There's something else," Queen Vexaria said, her skin shifting to a soft blue color that Jake had learned meant she was nervous. "The Galactic Council has agreed to meet with us." The room went quiet. The Galactic Council was made up of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. They had never officially recognized the Zephyrian Empire, seeing it as a group of dangerous upstarts. But they had also never moved to stop it, fearing the cost of such a war. "What do they want?" Dr. Chun asked. "They want to see if our Federation is real, or if it's just the Empire with a new name," the Queen replied. "If we can prove that we've really changed, they might offer us membership in the Council." Jake thought about what that would mean. Membership in the Galactic Council would give the new Federation access to technology and resources beyond anything they could imagine. It would also mean that the old empire was truly dead, replaced by something better. "When do we meet them?" he asked. "In 2 weeks, at the neutral station near the Galactic Center." After the meeting, Jake and Queen Vexaria walked together through the gardens that had been built where the old arena used to be. The fighting pits had been filled in and planted with flowers from dozens of different worlds. Children from many species played together in the soft grass. "Do you ever regret it?" the Queen asked. "Giving up your quiet life as an explorer to become a diplomat?" Jake watched a young Zephyrian child teaching a human boy how to make the crystal flowers glow brighter. "Never. This is what exploration was always supposed to lead to." Finding new friends, not new enemies. The council meeting will be difficult, she said. Some of the species we'll meet have been our enemies for centuries. They have good reasons not to trust us. Then we'll prove to them that we've changed, just like you proved it to me. The queen's skin shifted to that soft green color that Jake loved to see. It meant she was happy, truly happy, in a way she had never been when she was just a conqueror. There's something I need to tell you, she said. The Earth Federation has offered me citizenship. They want me to become humanity's first alien ambassador. Jake stopped walking. What did you tell them? I told them I would think about it. What do you think I should do? Jake looked at her carefully. In the months since they had met, she had become more than just an ally. She had become his closest friend and maybe something more. But he also knew how much her people needed her. I think you should do whatever makes you happy, he said. Your people don't need a queen anymore. They need leaders, and they're learning to choose those for themselves. And what about you? What do you need? Jake smiled. I need my partner. The queen's skin went through several colors before settling on a warm gold. Partner? We make a good team. We stopped a war, rebuilt an empire, and created something new. I can't think of anyone I'd rather have beside me when we meet the Galactic Council. 2 weeks later, Jake and Queen Vixaria stood together on the observation deck of the Federation ship. New dawn as it approached the neutral station. The station was enormous, a city in space that had been built by the combined efforts of dozens of species. Are you nervous? Jake asked. Terrified, she admitted. What if they don't believe we've changed? What if they think this is all just a trick? Then we'll prove them wrong. We've done it before. The meeting took place in a vast hall filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Jake recognized some of the species from his exploration missions, but others were completely new to him. They all watched as he and the Queen approached the center of the room. The speaker for the Galactic Council was an ancient being that looked like it was made of living stone. When it spoke, its voice echoed through the hall like distant thunder. Queen Vexaria of the Zephyrians, Commander Jake Morrison of humanity. You claim that your empire has changed, that you now seek cooperation instead of conquest. Why should we believe you? Queen Vexaria stepped forward. Because we have done what no one thought was possible. We have taken an empire built on fear and turned it into a federation built on hope. Words are easy, said another council member, a being that looked like a giant butterfly made of crystal. The Zephyrian Empire has brought war to our galaxy for 300 years? Jake stepped beside the Queen. You're right. Words are easy, actions are what matter. In the past 6 months, the Federation has freed over 200 conquered worlds. We've returned stolen resources to their original owners. We've ended slavery on 43 planets and given the former slaves full citizenship in the Federation. And what about the species that resist your changes? Asked a third council member. We leave them alone, the Queen said simply. If they want to rule their own worlds the old way, that's their choice. We don't force our beliefs on anyone. The questions went on for hours. The council asked about everything, how they made decisions, how they handled conflicts, how they planned to prevent the Federation from becoming another empire. Finally, the stone-like speaker raised one massive hand for silence. We have heard your words and studied your actions. The Galactic Council has reached a decision. Jake felt his heart beating faster. Everything they had worked for came down to this moment. The Zephyrian Federation is hereby granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. You will be given access to our knowledge and resources, but you will also be watched carefully. If you return to the old ways of conquest and oppression, your membership will be revoked immediately. The hall erupted in cheers from the Federation representatives. Jake felt relief wash over him like a cool breeze. They had done it. The old empire was officially dead, replaced by something better. Later, as they traveled back to Federation space, Jake and Queen Vixaria stood together on the bridge of the new dawn. The ship was a marvel of combined human and Zephyrian technology, faster and more advanced than anything either species could have built alone. What happens now? The Queen asked. Now we explore, Jake said. The council showed us maps of parts of the galaxy that no one has ever visited. There are new worlds out there, new species to meet. And if we find hostile species? Species that want to conquer rather than cooperate? Jake smiled. Then we show them that there's a better way, just like someone once showed me. The queen's skin shifted to that beautiful green color, and she moved closer to him. Just the two of us against the unknown? Not just the two of us. We have Lisa and her fleet, Ryan and his engineers, Katie and her communications teams. We have millions of people from dozens of species who believe in what we're building. And what are we building? Jake looked out at the stars, thinking about all the worlds they had yet to visit, all the friends they had yet to make. We're building the future. A future where no one has to choose between conquest and extinction. A future where everyone has a voice. The queen took his hand in hers. Her crystal skin was warm against his human flesh, a reminder that two very different species could work together if they tried. I love you, Jake Morrison, she said quietly. I love you too, Vexaria. Not the queen, not the ruler, just you. As the new dawn jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying them toward their next adventure, Jake thought about how far they had all come. A year ago, he had been a simple explorer. Now he was helping to build a new kind of civilization.